Hi, welcome. My name is Chef Fernando Mojica. I am here with Columbus State Hospitality Programs. Welcome to our culinary theater. We're cooking in our culinary theater here at the school. So today we want to show you how to do a braised beef, right? So pretty simple, pretty straightforward braising technique. It's a lot of fun to learn and a lot of fun to do right and create some cool dishes. So we're going to do some boneless short ribs, and then we're gonna do that into a Burgundy style. After we're done with the basic braise, we're gonna turn that with some potatoes and so on. So what we have here is we have some boneless short ribs, right? You can certainly do this dish with like beef shank or veal shank, or even chicken. You can do chicken thighs or legs. You can braise. So this is what we had available. So we're gonna do that. We have about a cup, 2 cups of mirepoix, so carrot, celery, onions. We have about an ounce of tomato paste. We have about a half a cup of red wine, which is optional, of course. You don't have to use that. We have a couple of stems of thyme, a couple of stems of rosemary, a couple of parsley stems, but this is just the leaves only. The stems only. You do not want to use the leaves. We have a couple of bay leaves, a little salt, a little pepper, a little bit of salad oil or blended oil, and then we have about a quart of veal stock. If you don't have veal stock, you can use beef broth, or you can use veal broth that you can find readily at any store. So we also have a little bit of water, and we have arrowroot. Arrowroot is a thickener, kind of very similar to cornstarch. It just reacts a little different. I will show you later on how to use that. We're going to use that to thicken our sauce after we're done braising. So we're going to walk you through the video and walk you through the dish. So hope this is fun for you. All right, so we have those short ribs here. We're going to just season these with a little bit of salt and pepper, right? Pretty simple. We just want to make sure we get a nice seasoning on all sides. A little salt, a little pepper. All right, so a little salt, a little pepper on both sides, right? We have a little bit of oil here. We'll put this in our pan. You want to get the oil hot, but you don't want it to get when it starts smoking. So we're just going to sear these on all sides. You do not want to overcrowd the pan, because what that's going to do is that's going to create a steam. So you want just enough product in your pan so that there's room for the steam to come up. So you're searing rather than steaming. So we're going to sear these a few minutes, maybe 2 minutes on each side. You want to get all the sides nice golden brown. And then we'll move on from there. Okay, so we flipped 2 of them, nice golden brown, as you can see. We're gonna flip it. We got all sides seared up, and then we'll pull this out. We're gonna leave the oil in there because we're going to then caramelize our mirepoix and start creating that base for the braising. Okay, so once we have everything all seared, golden brown on all sides, we'll pull them out and start adding our mirepoix. We're going to start adding our mirepoix. We love the oil that's in there. You want some of that beef flavor in there. So again, we have about 2 cups of mirepoix. So nice and we're going to run this until it's nice and golden brown, nice and caramelized. You want some of the Maillard reaction, right, which is the sugars caramelizing and starting to create some of that flavor. So it's going to take about, maybe, depends on how big they are. These are cut into like a medium, small dice. This is going to take about 5, maybe 6, 7 minutes, but you want to make sure that you're not burning them. So we'll get this going and we'll come back and add the... All right, so these are starting to get nice and caramelized. We're going to add the tomato paste now. We're going to cook that off again. So this is what we call a pinçage. So a little bit of tomato sauce and tomato paste. And what you want to do is you want to start cooking these. You're going to stir it every few minutes because you want some of that tomato flavor to really start developing. And you want to bring this paste till it reaches a very deep burgundy color, right? So almost like an old brick house color. So this is again going to take maybe about another 5 to 10 minutes. And then after that, we'll deglaze it with the wine and we're ready to start cooking. So these are ready. You can see the nice deep burgundy color. We're going to deglaze with the red wine. Again, this is not necessary. It's an optional step. If you do not want to use wine, you can certainly use your veal stock and reduce that and deglaze it with that. So what deglazing is introducing a cold liquid to your hot pan to create, so all the stuff that's starting to stick to the bottom is what we call fond. and the fond is all the flavor that has a lot of flavor into it. So as long as it's not burnt, and so that fond you want to remove from the pan. So we're gonna deglaze with the wine, right? We're going to scrape it just a little bit to get rid of that fond. And as you can see, some of the stuff that was on the bottom is now built into that liquid and is now built into the flavor. So at this point, we're ready to add our short ribs in here. Wine is reduced. We're gonna put our meat back into the pot right here, right? Again, you do not want to overcrowd your pot. We're going to add our thyme and all of our herbs, right? All of our aromatics. Spread them around. A couple of bay leaves, like I said, a few of the parsley stems. And then you're going to add enough liquid. You may not need, we have a quart in here, you may not need all of it. So you want to add enough liquid so that the liquid covers 3/4 of the way up on whatever thickness of the meat you're cooking. You don't want to cook you don't want to cover all of the meat. So you're braising, right? So we're gonna cover this with plastic and aluminum foil, and then we're gonna let that steam. So you want the top of that, to the top of the meats to be not covered, because you're gonna let some of that steam kind of come down from the sauce and come down, and it will start kind of glazing the beef. Every now and again, you want to remove it out of the oven, flip them so that they cook even. So we're gonna cook these at about 275 degrees in a conventional oven, or 250 degrees in a convection oven. And we're gonna cook these for about 2 to 3 hours, right? We'll check them after 2 hours, make sure they're fork tender. If they are, we'll be ready to move on with our sauce. If they're not, we'll give them another hour. But again, about every half an hour or so, you want to go back and flip them so that it starts to cook evenly. But again, you do not want to cover it all the way. You're braising, right? If you were to cover it all the way, then you will be poaching them, and you don't want to do that. So we're ready to go. Again, in the oven, about 275 degrees. And then after they're done, we'll start showing you how to finish the sauce. Okay, so the short ribs have now cooked. They were in the oven for about 3 hours now. They're nice fork tender. We just took a fork, we put it through, and it started to shred. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove these from the liquid, and we're gonna keep them warm. So you can put them in a plate, cover them with plastic wrap, or in some sort of container, and keep them warm. But they're ready to go, right? So after that, what we're gonna do is we're going to strain the liquid that we cooked, right? So we're gonna take a ladle, and we're going to take some of this little excess fat out of it, just to remove some of the excess fat that the short ribs released. And then we're going to strain that into a smaller pot. And after we do that, we're going to start thickening the sauce, and we'll show you the plate up. Now that we strained the liquid, we brought it back into a boil, and we're going to take our arrowroot. Like I said earlier, this is just a thickener. You can certainly use cornstarch if you have it. You can certainly make a roux with butter and flour as well. I just like to use this just to keep it gluten-free and keep the butter out of the dish. It's already enough fat in there from the short ribs. So we're going to take a little bit of water. We're going to take our arrowroot, and we're just going to make a little bit of a slurry, right? We're just going to make into a little bit of a paste, but you don't want it to be so thick, right? Now, this is just about 3 or 4 teaspoons of arrowroot to about an ounce of water or so. Just until, again, just a little bit of a paste, a little bit of a thin paste. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to slowly whisk this into the sauce. Now, this goes a very long way. You may not need all of these, but you want to be careful. You do not want to add it all at once. All right, so we're going to start adding this a little bit at a time. Slowly adding these, right? We're going to let this come back to a boil again. And as we do this, the arrowroot is going to start thickening the sauce, right? So again, you want to add it a little bit at a time because you don't want your sauce to be too thick. If you do go too thick, you could certainly add a little bit of that broth, veal broth, if you have any leftover. Or you can even certainly add a little bit of just water to thin it down. But we're going to add, if you go a little bit at a time, you'll be able to control it more. And so we're going to do that. You can see how it's nice and thick now. We're going to let this boil for about a minute, and then we're going to simmer it for about 5 minutes or so, just to let the arrowroot develop. And after we have our sauce ready, we're now going to show you how to go about and do your vegetable to turn that beef that we made earlier, along with this sauce, into that Burgundy style beef. So we'll See you back in a few minutes. So we now have our braised short ribs, right? We have our sauce ready to go. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna finish our dish. So for the Burgundy style short ribs, the vegetables that go with it, we have some fingerling potatoes, about 6 ounces or so. This is gonna be for about 4 dishes. So these quantities are for enough for about 4 dishes. About 6 ounces of potatoes. Now certainly you can use any other type of potatoes. Baby reds will be okay. Even Yukon Golds will be fine. So what we did is we took the potatoes, we cooked them in water, and then we just peeled them. We're going to sear them here in a minute. We have about 4 ounces of carrots that we blanched in water and dried them off. We have a couple of cups of green peas. We also have just about 1.5 ounces or so of veal broth. You can certainly use chicken broth if you don't have veal broth. We do have a little bit of red wine, just about 1 ounce or so. But again, this is optional. You don't have to use it. And then we have about 4 ounces of mushrooms. So we're just going to cut these mushrooms right into quarters. These are baby portobello or cremini mushrooms. Cut this into quarters. We have in our pan here, as you can see, it's starting to get nice and warm. And we have about 1 ounce or so of oil, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our mushrooms, we're going to put them right into the pan, and we're going to let those cook for a little bit. Start letting them get nice and golden brown. We're going to saute those a little bit, let them get some color. And then we'll start adding the rest of the vegetables and start building our vegetable component for the beef. So these are starting to get nice and caramelized. We're going to carefully add our potatoes in here. You want to be careful, right, in case you have any excess water. You don't want to splatter all over the place. But we're going to add our potatoes. Let those start to get a little bit of color. Okay, so now that the potatoes are starting to get a little color, we're going to add the carrots. We're going to add the rest of the vegetables. We're going to season these with a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Here, as you can see, the liquid is gone, the oil is gone. Some of the mushroom is going to absorb a lot of that oil. We're going to add a little bit of wine. Again, this is an optional step. We're going to add a little bit of that stock in here, and we're going to let these cook in, we're going to throw these back in that oven that we cooked the short ribs on, 350 degrees oven, for about 5 minutes or so, just until the vegetables are nice and warm, and then we'll be ready to plate. All right, so we're ready to plate. We have our short ribs, we have our vegetables, we have our sauce. Now for garnish, we have a little bit of parsley leaves, and actually when we were shopping this morning, we found carrots that still had the tops attached to them, so we took a little bit of carrot leaves, and that's what we're gonna use to garnish. That's gonna just help marry all those flavors together, help use that product, right? Because otherwise you will just end up throwing those leaves away. But this will just help a little bit. So for plate up, we're going to make sure that you evenly distribute the vegetables on the plates. Again, these will make about four dishes. So some of these vegetables, carrots, mushrooms, and so on. Some of the green peas that we did. And then we are going to add our short ribs that we kept warm right in here, right? And then we're going to take our sauce and we're going to ladle just about 2 ounces or so of the sauce right onto the plate, right on top of the short rib here. And we will finish these and garnish it with a little bit of the carrot leaves and the parsley leaves. And you are ready to go. So again, thank you for joining us today. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you enjoy this dish, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rayleigh Harper with the School of Hospitality Management and Culinary Arts at Columbus State Community College. We hope you're enjoying our new YouTube channel and would love for you to subscribe to see more videos and chef demonstrations. Also, please visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Lastly, you can visit cscc.edu, the hospitality department page, if you would like to learn more information about our programs and our school.